Welcome to another edition of EJH British Cars, and now for something completely different. This is my 1965 Chevrolet 3/4 ton C20 pickup truck. It's 8-foot fleet side, has a 283 4-speed granny box, full instrumentation in the dash, and I even added a tachometer. And it needs a turn signal switch. So I thought I would just give you a little taste of something different for all you colonists over here on the other side of the pond. The first thing we need to do is take the horn button off. I think I may need to go unhook the battery. So I get the horn button out. That's just a push fit with this rubber grommet that has a notch to line up with here. And also notice I've got the steering wheel vertical, so I hopefully can get everything back to where it was. So I have a positional reference. So there's 3 Phillips head screws that are holding the horn mechanism in. There's 3 little flat washers back here and this plate. And the flat washers are here because over the years all the plastic shrank a little bit on this, and it made the horn really easy to engage. So we just put the 3 washers in as spacers. And if you can look right here, there's a little notch in the steering column, and I put that in with the flat chisel, and there should be a strike on the steering wheel behind it, so they'll line up so I can get this steering wheel back on and centered, because the release mechanisms for the turn signal are on the shaft. So if you don't get the wheel back in the same spot, then it just doesn't center up for that. So it's just a lot easier to keep everything square. Next, we need to get the center nut off. This comes off like this. There's a washer behind it. Now the real question is, am I going to have to get the steering wheel puller out, or will this come off with a good pull? Well, it seems like we're going to need the steering wheel puller. Alright, so here's the puller, and we found the 2 bolts that'll fit in here. They get a flat washer on them. This is the there's a cone that fits in the end of here, and there's a dimple in the end of the shaft that goes into. Just need to get these bolts started. I'm just double checking that my 2 notches are lined up, so I know that they were right, and then this just comes right off. And we'll just put it aside. And then there's a flathead screw that's holding that arm on, which we're going to have to use on the new one, because it's only the plastic piece that comes in the kit. So take that off. I've also, over the years, come to the conclusion that, here's a big surprise, a little Loctite on this thing will keep it from loosening up on you as time goes on. So it's just 3 Phillips heads in here. We'll get those out. Got those out, so you can see this or not. This is the connector that's under the dashboard, and the one plug is the body side and the twin plugs are the turn signal side. And this usually just clips up under that edge. There we go, there's one. There's the other one. I think I got to take this cover off to get the wires out. So let me get underneath. Here's a 1/4 inch. And that's going to work just fine. There's a couple more sheet metal screws under here. There we go. That comes off like that. It's interesting because this is just loose on there. I suppose what it really does is it replaces what would be the column shifter, the spacer that's used for that. And there are my wires. Pull them through there. Pull them through there. This is where the 2 bolts were that held that sleeve on. And here's this. And it goes through the big hole in the bottom. Which I suppose is the only place that these plugs are going to fit through. I'm not really sure what's wrong with this, but the turn signals, the turn signal filament in the tail light and the brake light filament are the same filament. So in the straight ahead position, the tail lights are connected to the tail light switch, but as you go left or right, it disconnects one tail light, depending left or right, and it hooks the turn signals into it, and those weren't turning the brake lights back on. So that's what makes me think this is, because the fact it's, 58 years old. And here's the new one. So we'll compare them. This center section is the horn ring. And then how about these plugs? Alright, so we got our 3 pieces lined up. The collar goes over first, like so. And then we get this piece. And make sure that we stay on the outside of that inner sleeve. There we go. And then this piece goes on. And that rotates under there. And then we should be able to put these screws back in, but I'm going to put some lock washers in. Alright, so I got the 3 Phillips head screws. Go back in the 3 holes. I put lock washers under them because anything that loosened up in here would be a giant pain in the butt to fix once the steering wheel's back on. And also put just a little Loctite on. Okay, so just a few things of note. When you're feeding all this stuff together, make sure your wires are on the driver's side, door side of these 2 bolt holes. Now you can rotate that around a little bit to get it out of the way. Because if they're on the wrong side, they won't pass underneath this crevice. And also this slides up and under here. So I slid it up all the way, then I backed it up about 1/8 of an inch because I didn't want it to touch anything and rub. Because this piece here does rotate. Because, I mean, you can see on the inside there's a spot where they drill it out for the shift handle and everything. When you put this piece in, put this center screw in, the one that's in the center of the back of the C, and then do these 2. Those are the easiest. I Loctited everything because I've had trouble with this loosening up before, and that's partially because it was so old. The plastic had shrunk and this was not a very tight hole anymore. But, a little Loctite goes a long way. So I'm going to do that. Now you can see my steering wheel. It's just a little bit of right turn, so I'm going to put that back on and see if we can't get that lined up. Alright, so here's the steering wheel. And you can see my notch and on the column and the notch on the steering wheel. Oh, I went on that time, and of course I'm off a tooth. So I don't know where you can see that, but this is, the column is a little bit to the right of that. So move that over. There we go. And that looks really good right there. And then we put the washer back on, the nut. And you'll notice that the horn push is still in the column. We never did take that apart. Wasn't any need to. Put this on here. And this doesn't really need to be crazy tight. That's probably about 40 foot-pounds at a guess. The tricky part is going to be to make the washers stay in place, because this wasn't designed for them to be there, and they're on the back when we put this back in. So I'm going to go in. I have some two-sided tape, so I'm going to go grab that. You can see that this is slightly convex, so you want the downside towards this push, because that's what this is a spring that pushes this back. Okay, well, I got the 3 washers through with the tape. Hopefully they'll stay in place. You want to make sure that this thing gets through all the way to the plastic bushings, and then it goes with that notch up, and then it should just fit in here. You pick the 3 right holes, because there's a bunch of holes on this hub. There's only really 3 that are left that are equally spaced, so they're the ones. I'll get all these started. Shake that around a little bit, make sure everything's all lined up good. Okay, so we got that back in, and I was wrong. It goes with the center facing up. So if you're looking at it like this, that thing is curved like that in there. So the center of that round disc pushes against the center here, and the outside edges push against the back of the hub. And you can see that's working all the way around. This is the horn button, and you notice there's a little square right there. And you also want to make sure that it gets the bow tie the right way around. It is possible to turn this thing in here like that. And there's an inner notch too. You actually feel it click in when you're in the right spot. So that's there. That goes to that notch on the steering wheel. There we go. And I unplugged the battery again just so we wouldn't be blowing the horn off for the neighbors. Alright, well, I guess you guys set up in the engine bay. Let's see. This thing hasn't been started for 30 minutes, so you know, a lukewarm start. Just like that. Not even not any foot on the gas pedal or anything. And I've had this truck since 1995, I think I bought it, so 28 years now. It's always been a good truck. The guy I got it from, that's what he told me. They had run it on unleaded fuel for a long time, and the valves were wiggling around like crazy when I bought it. But I had a spare motor laying around, so I threw the spare motor in. But that's what the old guy told me. He said, you put a motor in this, you're going to have a good truck. And boy, was he right. So I ran with I had an old 305 out of a Caprice. I ran for quite a few years, but then I rebuilt the 283, and that's what's in here right now. It's been a really good motor. It's 283, it's a 2-barrel. It's a high torque motor, so it's got more of a kind of an RV cam in it. So it's got good power. It's not crazy. It's a 456 rear end, but it got 35.5-inch tires on the back. That's the diameter. So it's not too bad. I mean, you can cruise along 65 or 70 pretty good. 70 miles an hour, the motor's doing about 3,000 RPMs or thereabouts. And that's about comfortable for this. You know, it's not a race truck. There you go, you can just hear that idling so nice. This thing runs so good. So I hope you enjoyed that. I know it's a bit of a change from working on TR2s and Sport 6s and the like, but you know, what the heck. It's a good truck, I enjoy it. And we will see you next time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'm gonna go take my truck for a test ride. Maybe I'll go get an ice cream because it's hot out here.